2 days after I buried my wife, the phone rang. It was 6:42 in the morning. The house was still, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, not peaceful. I had coffee in one hand and her folded flag sitting beside me on the kitchen table. I'd ironed uniforms for 33 years, commanded squads, managed barracks, deployed twice, but nothing prepared me for waking up alone. The caller ID showed Fort Bradshaw Command Office. I hesitated. Then I answered. "Steve Reynolds?" The voice was low, steady, but something in the tone wasn't right. "Yes, sir. This is Major General Harper. I attended your wife's funeral." I swallowed. I remembered him clearly. He'd stood ramrod straight when taps played. Didn't blink, didn't move, just bowed his head the way only someone who has buried brothers in arms does. "Yes, sir. Thank you again for being there." There was a long pause. "I'm sorry to call you so soon," he said quietly, "but this cannot wait. I need you to come to the base immediately." My grip tightened on the phone. "Sir, is this about my son?" Another pause, heavier this time. "Do not tell him you're coming." That was when the room changed. The air felt thin, sharp. "Sir, what's going on?" "I can't explain over the phone," he said. "Just get here. Now." The line went dead. I stared at the phone for several seconds before slipping it into my pocket. My boots were already by the door. I'd polished them out of habit last night. Something to do with my hands. Something to distract myself from the silence where my wife's voice used to be. Before I stepped out, my eyes drifted to her photograph, her hand on my uniform collar, laughing because she couldn't straighten it without standing on her toes, 40 years married. Cancer took her in 8 months. I touched the frame, whispered, "I'll be back," and left. The road to Fort Bradshaw was muscle memory. 8 years stationed there. Another 10 consulting after retirement. The guard at the gate recognized me. "Morning, Sergeant Major." I nodded. "Morning." He saw the urgency before I said a word. The gate lifted fast. The drive across the base pulled up ghosts, rucksacks hitting pavement, cadence calls at sunrise, recruits running until their legs shook. Service never leaves a man, even when the uniform does. General Harper was waiting outside the administrative building. "No salute. Not today." He shook my hand firmly, like a man preparing someone for bad news. "Walk with me," he said. We moved across the courtyard toward the old briefing wing, the one they never let civilians into, sir. I started carefully. "My son just returned from deployment. If something happened overseas—" Harper stopped walking, turned. "Your son is fine physically." That last word landed differently. He opened the building door and motioned me inside. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Down the hall, 2 military police stood outside a room, posture tense. My heart climbed into my throat. The general spoke quietly. "2 nights ago, the night after your wife's funeral, something was logged in our security system, a restricted access entry code used at 2300 hours. I frowned. "We still use the same clearance system I helped install." "You're missing the important part." Harper stopped in front of the door where the MP stood. "That code belonged to your wife." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible," I said. "She hasn't set foot on this base in years. And she's—" "I know," Harper cut in. "Which is why we checked everything. Cameras, logs, keycard records." "Sir?" My voice was gravel. "Are you telling me someone used my wife's clearance?" "Yes." His jaw tightened. "And whoever it was accessed a classified archive room." My pulse hammered. "What room?" Harper exhaled, slow, controlled. "The cold case military personnel vault." It took me a second to process, then another. My voice was barely a whisper. "That vault stores unsolved investigations, missing soldiers, classified field reports, and sealed files," he added, "including one with your name on it." The hallway suddenly felt colder. Harper placed a hand on the door. "Steve, before I show you what's inside, you need to understand something." His eyes met mine, and for the first time since I'd known him, they carried fear. "What you're about to see does not just change what you know about your wife." He opened the door. It changes everything you thought you knew about your son. The lights flicked on, and in the center of the room was a single manila file with 3 words stamped across the front: Reynolds, classified target. I didn't move at first, I just stared at that file. My name printed in bold, black, unforgiving ink. I'd seen thousands of classified folders in my life. Some held tactical intelligence, some held casualty confirmations, some destroyed reputations. But never, not once, had I seen my name listed as a target. General Harper closed the door behind us. The 2 MPs stayed in the hallway. He wasn't afraid of me. He was containing whatever truth was about to unfold. "Sit," he said quietly. I lowered myself into the metal chair across from the file. My palms were sweating, something that hadn't happened even under fire in Kandahar. Harper sat across from me, posture rigid. "I need you to open it," he said. I reached forward slowly and pulled the tab. The first page wasn't military formatting. It wasn't typed. It was handwritten, my wife's handwriting. My breath caught, her looped letters the way she stretched the T's and never dotted the I's until the end. Unmistakable. It read, "Steve. If you are reading this, then they are already watching Protect Our Son. Trust no one." My vision blurred for a second. Not from emotion, but shock. "My wife wasn't part of military intelligence," I muttered. "She was a civilian nurse. She worked base clinics, VA hospitals. Nothing that—" Harper raised a hand. "She wasn't just a nurse." I looked up sharply. "What are you saying?" He slid a document toward me, a photo ID. The picture was my wife, younger, hair darker, smile identical. But the badge wasn't medical, it was Department of Defense counterintelligence. "I don't understand," I whispered. "She was recruited in '97, Harper said. "Before you retired, her job was undercover identity verification and internal security breach prevention. No one outside her chain of command knew, including you." It felt like someone pulled the floor out from under me, 26 years married at that point, and she carried a second life? My instinct was disbelief. But then memories started surfacing. The locked drawer she never opened when I was around, the phone calls she took outside, the nights she said she was covering shifts that never showed up on payroll records. I rubbed my forehead. Why now? Why tell me this after she's gone? Harper pointed to the second item in the file, a digital printout of an access log, the timestamp. 2 nights ago, the clearance used, hers. The camera still beneath it showed a figure in uniform, but the face was blurred, almost intentionally distorted. That person entered, unlocked a sealed drawer, removed a hard drive, copied a directory, and put everything back without triggering alarms. Harper leaned forward. They knew exactly what they were doing. "And you think it's connected to me?" He hesitated. "Not just you." He reached into the file again and pulled out another document. An employment record, my son's name at the top, his unit, his security level, his deployment history. Then the words stamped in red across the bottom. Flagged. My chest tightened. What the hell is my son flagged for? Harper's voice lowered, almost reluctant, for unauthorized contact with a high-level intelligence asset overseas during his last deployment. I stared at him. My son doesn't operate intelligence. He's logistics, supplies, transportation. He files fuel reports and manages convoy routes. He's not part of covert operations. Harper didn't argue. That's what makes it suspicious. I pushed back in my chair. So let me get this straight. Someone using my dead wife's clearance broke into a restricted vault, accessed a classified file tied to my name, and now my son is flagged by intelligence networks for contact with someone he shouldn't even know exists? Yes. And you think the two are connected? I know they are. Silence filled the room. Heavy, suffocating. Then Harper slid one last item across the table. A small black encrypted drive, the same type I used overseas. Government grade. Impossible to crack without credentials. This, he said, was found taped to the underside of your wife's burial flag case. My heart stopped. She hid something in the one place no one would disturb, her final resting honor. Harper's voice softened. not as a general, but as a man who understood loss. She wanted you to find it, Steve. My pulse hammered in my ears. What's on it? I asked. We don't know. It requires a two-part authentication key, one digital, one spoken, and the spoken component is your voice. I looked at the drive, then at the file, then at the general, and in that moment, one truth settled in my bones like winter. My wife didn't just leave memories, she left a mission. And somehow, my son was at the center of it. For a moment, neither of us moved. The encrypted drive sat between us like a live explosive. Small, silent, but capable of ripping open a life I thought I understood. My wife, the woman I shared decades with, had left layers of secrets buried deeper than grief. General Harper finally spoke. We have a secure terminal ready, but before we open this, he paused, choosing his words carefully. You need to prepare yourself whatever she recorded. She did it knowing she wouldn't be able to tell you in person. I nodded, though my stomach felt like gravel. We walked down a long hallway toward the old SCIF room, a secure communications facility built like a bunker. Within a bunker, I'd been inside hundreds like it during my years of service, but walking into this one felt different. This wasn't duty. This was personal inside. A single terminal sat on a steel desk. No windows, no signals, no connection to anything outside those walls. Just a computer, a chair, and the weight of truth waiting. Harper closed the door and locked it behind us. Sit, he instructed. I lowered myself into the chair. The screen was dark until he connected the encrypted drive. A military interface flashed to life. Familiar format, but with an access prompt I'd never seen before. Voice authentication required. Say the passcode. My hands trembled despite myself. What passcode? I asked. Harper pulled out the first page of my wife's handwriting. The one addressed to me on the back, I hadn't noticed it earlier, was a short line. Say what you always told me before deployment. My throat tightened. There was only one phrase, a ritual. Something I whispered every time I buttoned my uniform, every time orders came, every time there was a chance I wouldn't return. I leaned forward, steadied myself, and said, no matter what happens, I'll come home. A soft chime confirmed the match. Then the screen changed. A video thumbnail appeared. Time stamped 6 days before she died. My breath caught. Harper stepped back, giving me space. I clicked play. My wife appeared. Thinner than she ever let me see in those final days, but her eyes, they were steady, focused, alive with purpose. Steve, she began softly, if you're watching this, I'm gone. Her voice shook once, then steadied. There are things I never told you, not because I didn't trust you, but because I took an oath. And now I'm breaking that oath because the threat didn't end with me. My pulse thudded louder with every word. You know I worked in medical units, but only part of my personnel file was real. I was recruited to identify internal infiltration, foreign intelligence embedded within the military system. For years, nothing concrete surfaced. She looked down, swallowed. Until 2 years ago. My jaw clenched. That's when he was approached. I felt the floor under me tilt. My son. She looked directly into the camera, eyes glassy but determined. Our son was targeted, not randomly, not by chance, but because of us, because of my clearance history, because of your service record. Beside me, Harper's breath froze. I intercepted a communication last year. Someone overseas, a handler, connected to an organization we never publicly acknowledged. They contacted him during deployment, offered him something tied to classified transport manifests. Transport manifest convoy routes, logistics, his job. My hands curled into fists. He didn't accept, she continued. Not then, but they didn't give up. She coughed, the quiet, painful kind cancer leaves behind. They are using guilt, manipulation, lies. They told him he could protect his family, protect you. My stomach twisted. I knew the tactic I had seen young soldiers manipulated the same way overseas. Loyalty weaponized, honor twisted into leverage. I tried to protect him quietly to bury the trail. Her voice wavered. But someone inside the system is helping them. Someone with access. She leaned closer to the camera. Steve, listen carefully. My whole body went still. They will make it look like he betrayed his country. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. But he hasn't, not yet, and if you move fast, you can save him. The screen flickered, as if the recording device struggled to keep up. There is one last piece of this, she whispered. A name, the person behind all of it. She exhaled shakily, voice lowering to a whisper. The handler they assigned him is someone you know. My pulse pounded in my ears. Someone I know. Someone close enough to reach my son. Someone close enough to steal her clearance. Her final words sent ice through my veins. Steve, don't trust command. The video froze. Then the terminal shut itself down. Harper's jaw tightened, not with surprise, with confirmation. He already suspected. And now I finally understood. This wasn't just about classified files, or stolen access codes, or even my wife's hidden past. This was a conspiracy inside the military, and my son was being pulled into it. Not as a traitor, but as a target. For a long moment after the recording ended, I couldn't breathe. I just sat there, staring at the black screen where my wife's face had been seconds before. The silence in the SIF felt louder than gunfire, louder than grief, louder than the truth I had just learned. My wife had been living a second life. My son was being targeted, and someone inside the military, someone close, was orchestrating all of it. I finally forced myself to speak. Where is he now? General Harper didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his jacket and placed a folded sheet of paper in front of me. Read it. My hands weren't steady when I opened it. It was a duty roster. Deployment assignments filed 3 days ago. Next to my son's name, temporary reassignment. Location restricted military escort required. I looked up sharply. You moved him? No, Harper replied quietly. Someone else did, without my authorization. That chilled me more than anything so far. Unauthorized reassignment meant two possibilities. Either someone forged orders, or someone with access had changed his status intentionally to isolate him. Where is he now? I repeated through clenched teeth. Harper exhaled slowly. He's still on base, holding barracks, technically awaiting clearance review, but the men assigned to monitor him don't belong to my command. That landed like a hammer. There are few things more dangerous than a soldier who has become a suspect, especially when he doesn't know he's being treated like one. I pushed back from the desk and stood. I need to see him. Harper didn't move. Steve, if you walk in there angry, emotional, or demanding answers, you could trigger exactly what the people behind this want right now. You're the only person he might trust, and the only person they're afraid of. What are they planning? I asked. Either recruitment, he said, or removal. My stomach turned removal. In military language, that word has two meanings: administrative discipline or permanent silence. I steadied myself and nodded. Take me to him. The walk across the base felt different this time. Cold, tense, predatory. Every uniform I saw, every patrol, every armed checkpoint, I evaluated like a threat I'd trained soldiers for decades. I could spot deception in posture, hesitation in movement, unease in the eyes. And as we approached the holding barracks, the two men outside the door didn't look like MPs. Their uniforms were technically correct, but their stance, their gaze, their lack of insignia, they were intelligence unmarked. Harper signaled to them, "Stand down, I'll take it from here." Neither moved. One finally spoke. "Orders say no access unless approved through Command Internal Affairs." Harper stepped forward, close enough to be a warning. "Read my badge again." One guard lowered his gaze, hesitation flickering in his expression. Then slowly they stepped aside. The door buzzed open inside. The room was small. Concrete walls, fluorescent lighting, single cot, no personal belongings, no comfort. My son sat on the edge of the bed, forearms on his knees, staring at the floor. He looked older than the last time I saw him. Not physically, but in the eyes. Deployment ages you. Grief ages you more. He didn't look up until I spoke, "Son." His head snapped up, and for a moment everything hardened inside me. Because what I saw wasn't fear. It was guilt. "Dad," he breathed, standing. "What are you doing here?" I stepped closer. "I should be asking you that." His jaw tightened. "I can't talk about—" "You will," I cut in. "Now." He ran a hand over his face, a gesture I recognized from every hard decision he'd ever faced since childhood. "I didn't betray anyone," he said. "But someone approached me overseas. A man. He knew things he shouldn't." "What did he want?" My son hesitated. "To reroute a convoy manifest, just one. They said it was humanitarian logistics. Medicine for a civilian clinic. They said command approved it but needed it off record because of foreign interference." "That was the lie," I said. He nodded slightly. "Yeah, I figured that out when they asked again. And again. Then they stopped asking and started pressuring." His voice cracked. "Not with weakness, but with the weight of something that's been carried too long. They said if I didn't cooperate, someone I loved would pay for it." My blood ran cold. "They meant your mother." He looked at me, eyes red, haunted. "I think they already got to her." I stepped closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. Steady, grounded, the way I used to before sending soldiers into the unknown. "No," I said firmly. "Your mother wasn't a victim." I met his eyes. "She was part of the fight." Before he could respond, the door behind us clicked. Not the entry door, the emergency side door. Someone was entering the room who wasn't supposed to. Harper moved first, reaching for his sidearm, posture shifting from formal command to combat instinct. Then a voice, calm, controlled, familiar, spoke from the doorway. "Steve, step away from him." I turned, and when I saw who was standing there, the last piece finally clicked into place, because the man giving the order wasn't a stranger. He was someone I'd known for decades, someone I once trusted with my life, someone who wasn't supposed to be here, Colonel Mason, my oldest friend, and now, the man who had come for my son. Colonel Mason stepped inside the room like he owned it. No hesitation, no uncertainty, just the steady, quiet confidence of a man who believed he was untouchable. His boots echoed on the concrete floor. His eyes, calm, assessing, moved from Harper to my son and finally to me. "Steve," he said almost gently, "this is hard, I know, but step away from him." I didn't move. For 20 years, Mason and I had served together, same deployments, same barracks, same losses. I'd trusted him with things I never wrote down. I never imagined I'd see him standing on the other side of the line. "What are you doing?" I asked, voice level. His jaw shifted. Barely a movement, but enough to betray irritation. "What should have been done quietly months ago," he replied. "Your wife interfered, and now you are." My chest tightened. Rage and disbelief twisted together. "You knew," I said. "You knew she was counterintelligence." "I recruited her," Mason answered without shame. "She was perfect, smart, quiet, loyal. But somewhere along the way, she forgot who she worked for." Harper stepped forward. "You're playing a dangerous game, Mason. If you're working with a foreign intelligence network—" Mason laughed once, a dry, bitter sound. "You still think small, Harper. This isn't foreign. This is internal." His eyes locked onto mine. "There are forces inside this military preparing for changes coming to national defense. Changes that require control. Your son was supposed to be part of that structure." "So you tried to blackmail him?" I asked, my voice sharp. Mason exhaled slowly. "He refused. Loyalty is admirable, but inconvenient." My son moved, fist clenched. "You threatened my mother." Mason didn't deny it. "She made herself part of the operation, and when she realized interfering wouldn't stop us, she went behind the chain of command." I stepped between them. "You manipulated a grieving soldier. You used access codes from a dying woman. You tried to frame my son for treason." Mason tilted his head, almost sympathetic. "I tried to give him purpose." A dangerous silence followed. Then Mason continued. "You have two choices. Leave with your son and disappear quietly, or stay and become a liability the organization will have to remove. My voice was ice. Organization? His smile didn't reach his eyes. One you'll never get close enough to name. Harper shifted beside me, weight balanced. The posture of a man seconds from violence. I raised a hand slightly, stopping him. Mason, I said quietly, you served beside me. You saw what I did for this country. Yes, he replied, and that's exactly why I'm offering you this mercy. Mercy. The word punched something deep inside me. Memories of men who never made it home, of folded flags, of silent salutes. My wife's voice echoed in my mind. Don't trust command. Protect our son. I stepped closer until Mason and I were inches apart. You forgot something, I said. He waited. I spoke slowly, clearly. A soldier doesn't stop serving when he retires. Service isn't a uniform, it's a promise. Mason's expression shifted. Recognition, then regret. You're not walking away, are you? No, I answered. Then everything happened fast. Mason reached for his weapon. Harper tackled him. The struggle was violent, controlled. Two trained men fighting with precision. I grabbed Mason's wrist and slammed it against the concrete wall. The pistol clattered to the floor. My son kicked it away. Harper pinned Mason face down, cuffing him with the MP's restraints. Mason didn't resist. He just stared up at me, eyes burning with conviction. You think this ends with me? He muttered. No, I said quietly. This begins with you. 2 hours later, military intelligence agents escorted Mason off-site. Harper initiated a classified inquiry, a full audit, a purge. Corruption doesn't die quietly, but it falls hardest when exposed. My son stood beside me outside the barracks, the afternoon sun low, casting long shadows. He looked exhausted. You okay? I asked. He nodded slowly. I will be. We walked toward the parking lot. Halfway there, he stopped. Dad, did Mom really know all this was coming? I swallowed, grief and pride tangled in my chest. She spent her last strength protecting you. He blinked hard. I wish I could thank her. You just did, I said softly. We stood there in silence until he spoke again. What do we do now? I looked at the base, the flags, the barracks, the place where so many lives began and ended. We do what we've always done, I answered. We serve. We stand. We honor the truth, even when it costs us. He nodded, and for the first time since the funeral, I felt something settle inside me. Not peace, but purpose. My wife didn't leave us broken. She left us direction, a mission, a legacy. As we walked away, I whispered the words I'd said before every deployment. No matter what happens, we come home. This time it wasn't a promise, it was a vow.